You're live.
All right. This is the Town of Dewey Beach Town Council meeting. It's being held at the Dewey Beach Life Saving Station as well as via Zoom. It is Friday, December 15th, 2023. We have had a executive session prior to this session, and we had done both the pledge and the roll call. All commissioners and mayor are present, so the quorum is present. So we're reconvening the town council meeting. Updates, announcements are the first thing. I'll ask the town manager to give any updates.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We continue to work on the lifeguard station, including putting new lights outside at the end of the boardwalk there. As you exit tonight, you'll notice those on. We also have been cleaning up around the drains around town and all the pine needles. The billy goat was used several times this past week. We're cleaning up over at the pump station. I had Caswell come in. We found a leak around one of our pipes there at the pump station. We actually have two pipes. There's one seal that's actually leaking. I got an estimate from Caswell. They're going to put somebody actually in the water, pull that, clean it, reseal it. It's going to cost us $2,000. I've already told them to go ahead and move forward with that. We'll probably go over this a little bit in the infrastructure meeting, but Reed Street and Collins and Dickinson Street projects will begin sometime mid-January. They'll be done by May 15th. And we had our 60% phase with GMB and a lot of other subcontractors on the new town hall and police station. It went very well. The 60%, to let everybody know, is electrical, plumbing, floor plan, doors, what doors will be actually, monitored for electronic entry, a number of different things. We still have to work with the fire marshal's office. And we're looking at type of flooring now for the first floor and second floor. And there's a rough schedule going forward. And Mr. Mayor, we're not sure, and we feel pretty good about this, that we are not going to be able to start before the Thursday, before Memorial Day, of course, is when you can no longer start driving pilings. We feel pretty comfortable. Jim Dedes and I and Dave Naples have discussed it, that we will not be able to start the project by then. Jim, did I miss anything?
No, sir, you covered it all.
Pending any questions, that's it, Mr. Mayor.
The only question I have for you is there an update on the start of the stormwater project on Reed Street?
Yeah, so infrastructure will talk about that, but I was on today with SPS and with RV. Mid-January, they'll be on the ground and they'll be finished on or about, given tides and weather, before April 15th. It could be done a lot sooner, but sometime during that window.
And I assume your comment concerning the beginning of the construction of the town hall has to do with our own internal code of pylons being driven after Memorial Day. Is that correct?
That is Thursday before Memorial Day. You cannot drive another pile after 6 p.m. And then you can't drive another pile until the Tuesday after Labor Day. Also, take in consideration how busy we are in the summer, all the extra people we have, our summer employees, how busy parking enforcement is. Then I think the best decision is going to be, we go ahead, redo the schedule. As I said, Jim and I discussed it, and we think the best time to start is probably the second week in September.
Has the architectural firm or your conversations with Dave Naples then concluded an estimated time of completion? If we're starting after Labor Day? No?
No, it hasn't.
Council, any questions for Bill? Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
The next update announcements, swearing in of K9 Smoke and K9 Jasper.
Mr. Mayor, if you can step up.
Take the bacon out of my pocket.
Yeah, take the bacon out of your pocket.
I'm probably going to need my glasses. So.
Yeah.
Hope the dog doesn't sit in front of you staring.
Susie comes in, let's do the intro, and then we can do the.
So Smoke is first.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and just do the little intro on him. Corporal Carl Curtin has K9 Smoke. Smoke is an 18-month Belgian Malinois, also known as a Belgian Shepherd. He is trained in detecting the odor of narcotics, tracking persons, locating articles, building searches for persons and narcotics, and apprehending fleeing or violent subjects. Smoke is adjusting to his new life and is very loyal to his handler. There's no end to his energy when playing with his favorite toy or worker. And he absolutely loves Carl, and he likes to give Carl big hugs.
Can he give high fives yet, or?
I don't know if he does that yet.
Okay.
I'll give it a try, bro.
Yeah, I don't know what could go wrong.
Yes, we're ready.
Sorry for the delay. We're dealing with dogs here, so takes a little time.
You want to do this?
One of
Do the dogs get along? They never get,
We're bringing them in, no allowed, and then we'll adjust.
Hey, Smoke.
Smoke.
It's okay, buddy.
Okay?
It's okay, sweetie.
It's okay, baby. It's okay. Ready? All right. Raise your right hand and paw. And repeat after me. We, Corporal Curtin and Canine Smoke,
We, Corporal Curtin and Canine Smoke,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that we will uphold,
that we will uphold,
support,
support,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Delaware.
and the Constitution of the State of Delaware,
That we will fairly and equally enforce the laws and ordinances of the State of Delaware
that we will fairly and equally enforce the laws of the State of Delaware
and the town of Dewey Beach.
and the town of Dewey Beach,
And that we will discharge
and that we will discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of the town of Dewey Beach
of the town of Dewey Beach
K-9 team
K-9 team
according to the best of our ability
according to the best of our ability
and with fidelity.
and with fidelity.
Subscribed and sworn before me this date, December 15, 2023. Thank you, officers.
Thank you. All right, Smoke.
Welcome, buddy. Thank you.
Good job.
Good job. Hey.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, so our next.
It's a lot of energy.
Yeah, there's lots of energy. So our next K-9 team coming in is PFC Dylan Epke and his partner Jasper. Jasper is a 1.5-year-old German Shepherd. He's trained in narcotics detection as well as tracking. His favorite treat is cheese, and his favorite downtime is playing ball and tug of war. And for those of you that have already met Jasper and had any interaction, he's very friendly and very social. He gives hugs, he gives kisses when he first meets you.
Okay.
But we will handle this the same way with Jasper.
We will.
as well.
Okay.
Raise your right paw. That's the line of the day.
Hi.
Jasper. What's up, buddy?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. All right. Oh,
There we go.
you ready?
Yes.
Okay. This is for the oath of office for the police K-9 team. We, PFC Dylan Epke and K-9 Jasper. We,
Say it.
We,
PFC Dylan Epke and K-9 Jasper, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that we will uphold,
that we will uphold,
support,
and support,
and defend the Constitution of the United States
and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Delaware.
and the Constitution of the United States.
State of Delaware. That we will fairly. You want to start over?
Yeah.
All right, take two. Erase that. Because I screwed up first.
There we go.
Raise your right hand. All right.
Come here.
All right.
Sit.
We, PFC Dylan Ebke
I, PFC Donut,
and K9 Jasper,
and K9 Jasper,
do solemnly swear that we will uphold,
do solemnly swear that we will uphold,
support,
support,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Delaware.
and the Constitution of the State of Delaware.
That we will fairly
That we will fairly
and equally
and
equally enforce the laws
enforce laws
and ordinances
and ordinances
of the State of Delaware
of the State of Delaware
in the town of Dewey Beach.
and proud to that
And that we will discharge
we will discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of the town of Dewey Beach,
of the town of Dewey Beach,
K-19,
K-19,
according to the best of our ability
according to the best of our ability.
and with fidelity. Subscribed and sworn before me this date, December 15th, 2023. Congratulations, officers.
I didn't get a picture of that.
Jasper and Smoke met before.
I'll get one
Yes,
again.
they don't interact.
He's very excited.
Ellen got pictures.
In front of you.
All right.
All right.
Super cool.
Next item on the agenda are committee reports. We'll go by committee. We'll go by person. Commissioner Persinger.
Okay, first of all, climate change. We don't have a meeting scheduled with that group. The problem we have there is that we need some new members. So I think we're going to ask the town to send out a communication seeking some new members. We had at least two, and if Dave Davis decides not to be part of the committee this year, that would be 3 resignations from the committee. So we have somebody who I think is willing to chair, but we do need some new blood for that group. Nothing on audit. Charter and Code Review Committee is scheduled to meet again January 17th, and then around the end of November, I believe it was. And they made a recommendation to us, which we're going to talk briefly about today. But there's some more work to do on that issue that we're going to talk about with respect to building permits. They've gone through about half of the issues that were highlighted for discussion, possible changes in the charter and maybe some of the town code. They've made a few recommendations back to the council. Some of them is just kicking the issue back to us. They believe it's better for us to resolve this and have them resolved or potential resolution at the committee level. So we'll be hearing more about that. And I think that's all I have.
Commissioner Gibbons.
The investment committee met last week, and I've asked Dominic DeFevo to join us today because there were some questions that we were struggling to answer in the course of the committee meeting. And I thought perhaps he could just give us a high-level overview of where we are year to date. Can you let him in, Kate?
He is in.
Okay, Dominic, I'm yielding the floor to you.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. So real quick, I mean, I think there was an overview kind of given on the portfolio, but happy to kind of share current kind of account balance of general fund, currently 1.42 million, the short fund 205,000, and then the long fund current balance is 5,178,000 as of yesterday. I think, I know there were some questions that came up. I'm happy to kind of overall kind of give kind of the performance numbers if you'd like. And I can share my screen if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay. So overall performance year to date, kind of 6.7% as of November. We have seen another increase of 100 plus thousand since the end of November. but significantly outperforming the blended benchmark for this portfolio. You know, we're kind of beating or in line kind of across every period since inception. And again, these are all annualized numbers. And then quarter to date, you know, up 3.6%. We've done that, you know, across kind of all the managers in the portfolio. Bond fund, which is the predominant, you know, 70% of the portfolio, performing quite well. Flex equity portfolio continues to, you know, really have stellar performance as it's outperformed on an annualized basis, beating the S&P 500 by 1% over a 8-year period, which is quite significant when you kind of think about, you know, 1% compounded over that time period. Small caps have been kind of the underperformer so far this year, but kind of within the past month, we've seen kind of significant, you know, really solid performance. This fund's actually year to date here as of November was up 7%, and I believe as of yesterday, it's close to up 12%. Global Leaders strategy, again, really outperforming since inception, doing quite well. Year to date, up 19.1%. And then the Emerging Market Select Fund, up 6.5%. Again, beating a relative benchmark 5.7% year to date, and has outperformed since inception by more than 2.5% on an annualized basis. So that's kind of where the portfolio is at today. The overall portfolio in the general fund, we made a manager shift from Brown Advisor Intermediate Income Fund to Voya Intermediate Bond Fund. Since then, that portfolio is up $60,934, again, as of yesterday. And then kind of in a similar manner, the Beach Replenishment Short Fund, we also made that same change and is up almost $7,000 year to date, or since making, sorry, not year to date, but since we made that change. So that's kind of the update on the portfolios. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dominic. There have been concerns about the general fund and making clear from what Dominic just reported to us, there has been no loss in the general fund. And there were questions as to whether the general fund should be exposed to any risk. At this point, our investment policy does not allow Dominic to place it in cash. It has to stay within bonds, which is where it is currently.
That's correct. And I believe that's a 40% minimum.
Well, that may be true. Even if it is true, I think the basic question is, do we want that money, which is 60% of our rainy day fund, do we want that money exposed to any market risk? Should it be an investment, or it should just be a pot of money that's just like any other pot of money that's part of the general fund? And it may be put into a savings account and generate interest, but it wouldn't be subject to any other market risk. That's a question that we have to answer, that the investment committee kicked back to us. Yeah.
Well, I'll just as a side note, you know, from the investment committee standpoint, is that the town of Dewey Beach this past week had submitted an RFP to local banks to come back with the best possible performance on the depository side, as well as service and fees. And I believe we're expecting those RFPs back
By the end of January.
By the end of January. The anticipation of, given the current economy, current market rates, that we might be able to achieve a guarantee of somewhere around 4 to 4.25%, 4.5% on those returns. And I think we would have to evaluate the bond cash basis versus just putting it into a, like you're saying, a non-risky account.
I think the problem is the rainy day fund has minimum balance requirements. That's set by our budget. It's and the auditors look at that, and it's we have to meet that balance. So if we get to the end of the year and we still have that money in some sort of market risk fund, if that's down, then our balance is down.
And we need to fund it.
And then we need to compensate for that. So again, it's a basic question: should it be an investment, or should it just be a pot of money whose value declines only if we take money out of it and use it for the purpose for which it's designated?
maybe that we would like to do maybe a workshop in January to look at, because the investment directive came prior to the rainy day fund policy being developed, and maybe we want to take another shot at reviewing the policy to make sure that it's
Right.
consistent with current market requirements.
So I would just add real quick. I mean, one, rates are not going to stay this high, right? We are at peak Fed funds rate given the backdrop of the market. So any decision that's made off of these rates is going to be subject to change. So whatever the RFP comes back with, just know that within a few months, and the Fed has signaled that it will likely cut rates 3 times next year, that will go down. And given the inflation picture, if we are in a kind of 2.5–3% inflation picture, and Fed funds goes down into that same range, you're essentially either flat or going backwards. So just, you have to put it all in perspective with given kind of where we are in the interest rate market. I mean, currently our money market's getting 5.2%. And so, we just by being in a money market, but we don't anticipate that staying that way for very long. So I think it's just a matter of, making decisions that are kind of consistent and understanding the backdrop of the broader market. I think is just really important. And whatever decision you all come to, we're fine. We're fine working with that, but just want to give some additional perspective there.
I appreciate that. One of the things that we'll look at prior to that next meeting and potentially discussing this in further is that you and I have a very different calculation of what the gain since the end of March in this fiscal year. While you show 6.7, I only show 0.3. So,
okay, I'm not sure what exactly you're looking at.
I'm looking at the Excel spreadsheets that you sent to Town Hall.
I didn't send any Excel spreadsheets to Town Hall.
They come from Brown Advisory.
They did not. No Excel spreadsheet came from Brown Advisory.
All right, we don't need. Dominic,
Somebody,
I appreciate your time.
I can look at it right here on the screen, and I can show you exactly what it is if you'd like. I have the exact numbers and I have the statements right here. I'm happy to send the statements over to you. But no Excel spreadsheet with any performance came over from Brown Advisory, for the record.
Okay. Duly noted.
Dominic, I appreciate you being here and answering the questions that I was not able to answer.
No problem. Happy to do it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Barr.
All right, 2 committee updates here. So marketing's been hard at work. Next meeting is January 15th or 16th, Kate? 16th. So they've made some recommendations on how to raise some money for some of the ideas were the mural, the sidewalk, the bricks, the pavers. So we're going to have to make some decisions on that and which ones we want to move forward with. So we'll have a further update after the January 16th meeting. And then Budget and Finance will be meeting in early January again as well. And this year looks to be tracking pretty, better than we thought it was going to look. So I'm optimistic about performance this year, plus getting it ready for next year. So we have some parking recommendations we're going to talk about later, so I won't be redundant and talk about them now.
The only thing I wanted to, I had asked town manager to reach out to the architects who had told us that they would provide us a 3D model once we were done of what town hall would look like at the time that when we picked them. So I've asked them to actually get that 3D model so that we could understand where the possibilities of a mural or a walk would be, et cetera, so we can take a look at that. All right, and Commissioner Jasinski.
Yeah, the town manager gave a good update on where everything was infrastructure-wise, so I don't have anything to add.
Yes. Our Commissioner Jasinski is traveling worldwide right now, so I'm not sure. What country are you in, David?
Brazil, Rio.
Jealous. Okay. Next line item. Can I have a motion for the approval of November 17th, 2023 meeting minutes?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion, any changes? Not hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
We will now open up for public comment. Anyone here that will wish to speak any of the public comments on any agenda items or non-agenda items, please feel free. please come up, please state your name, address, and
Yes, hi. Diane Tenhopen, 1406 Coastal. I understand there's an agenda item today to discuss dogs on the beach. And I just wanted to show my support for anything that increases the amount of time they can be out there. I think it's chapter 65.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and also, thank you for putting out the donation bin at Town Hall for the dog shelter. It's a great idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Fran.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody in the waiting room?
Yes, David Moskowitz.
Great.
May I go?
Yes, you may, David.
Yeah, David Moskowitz, Dewey Beach. The dogs on a beach, I'm actually against what's being proposed because the language is very vague and says when lifeguards are not on duty. And in the past, lifeguards have been in duty in May and in September. And when people on vacation, they don't know, is a lifeguard on duty at night? So this could actually further restrict dogs on the beach, which I don't think anyone intended. So I think you need to put dates and times. If you want to just say dogs are not permitted on the beach during, was it 9:30 to 5:30 Memorial Day to Labor Day, put that. But if you, could a lifeguard be working at night? It's very possible. So by technically, like a tourist is not going to know. We may know more, but someone visiting will not know. Also, looking at the budget, it showed the police chief spending $55,000 on uniforms instead of $5,000. And then I think also the town hall was repainted and new carpet was put in when the place is being demolished in September. So it's just a lot of wasteful spending. And I mean, I also see the town manager is getting a $14,000 raise. And the reason why I bring all this up is, to my knowledge, Sunset Park's gazebo and ADA ramp are in need of repair. The town was getting $22,500 in free grant money, and they only had to spend $7,500. And I heard, I mean, it's going through the town that basically the town had to spend $7,500, and they said to DENREC they didn't have the money. So just trying to understand where the priorities were. And then if you are spending $55,000 on police uniforms, why didn't that come to the commissioners to be voted on? So I don't know what that police uniforms entails. Is it more like vests or tactical gear? It just says police uniforms, and I figured since this is the public comment to ask because it's just very unclear. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, anyone else?
No.
Okay. All right. With that, we'll move into the meat of the agenda. The first action item is the presentation by Captain Todd Fritchman regarding the 2023 Dewey Beach Patrol Statistics Report. Captain.
Good evening, everyone. Todd Fritchman, Dewey Beach Patrol Captain, here to discuss our 2023 statistical report. This was submitted previously, so I'm hoping that everyone had a chance to review this and may have questions. I was unable to attend the first meeting relevant to this, so I'm here today to answer any questions regarding our operations, our statistics, and then the recommendations that I have going forward. So I'll go ahead and just summarize this very quickly. In the 2023 season, we had, let's see here, 25 emergency medical responses. Emergency medical responses deems advanced life support has to be called and transport takes place. So that could be anything from cardiac arrest, traumatic injury, dislocation, broken bones, those types of things. First aid responses, we had 15 first aid responses. That's things that we handle locally in-house and no transport is needed. Open water rescues, we had 6 open water rescues and 10 open water assists. We had a very, very mild summer in terms of ocean wave energy and coastal hazards and so forth. So statistics were proportionally down across the board on all beach patrols. We did have a 2-week period there at the end with hurricane type situations where that's boosted our numbers. Otherwise, we were very, very low. Of course, that could change at any minute with environmental conditions. Missing persons, we had 12 missing persons this year, of course, all recovered and brought back to their guardians. Missing persons doesn't always mean juveniles or youth. That could mean elderly and dementia-oriented type people and so forth. So we do work close with PD, Rehoboth Beach Patrol, and state parks and their police departments on missing persons. So we all coordinate and collaborate immediately on any of that. So it works out well. Beach evacuations, we had 7 beach evacuations and 3 water evacuations, and that is standard in our industry when lightning is present in the area and any other marine hazard that comes along. We do not include in the statistic removing swimmers because of marine activity. There's an underlying word that we don't like to use behind marine activity, because if that's heard amongst beach people, there is mass chaos takes place psychologically there. So that is something with bait fish and the bunker schools and everything coming tight down the coastline now. The marine activity seems to be more and more all the time. In fact, there's tuna fish all along our coastline right now, and I'm going out to get one in the morning. But so we do clear the water. I'll try. Yeah, I'll try. I hope so. I'll be coming through on the way home. But yeah, night patrol was. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. So that was water evacuations, civil code violations. Obviously, we deal with hundreds of people per day for the civil code, alcohol, behavior, those types of things. And we do that now through the issuance of a informational set, a slip that explains our ordinance and our law as a warning. And then if we have to return to that party or they're non-compliant or disrespectful at that point, then we call PD for an intervention. And we had to call PD 7 times, and they responded super fashion this year and supported us when we needed them. What happens after that, we don't chase that down or anything, but so that was there. Some highlights, obviously we provide a competition team. It is standard in the industry. It's part of the culture. It's good for the town of Dewey Beach. The Sussex County Life Saving Association, which is an association of all the beach patrols in Delaware, compete together as one unit, so that we're competitive with LA County, St. John's Beach. Some places have 1,000 lifeguards. We were second in the nation overall. Dewey Beach did come back with another national champion. CJ Fritchman happens to also be my son. So he won the national championship in the beach flags, which is virtually impossible. 30 heats just the first day. I think there's 30 heats first day. We did have our sprint team got 5th overall in the nation. That was good. Of course, the last 2 years, our sprint team were national champions. But that will lead into some things that I got for recommendations. Let's see. Think anything on statistics? It's kind of just a very general summary of statistics. Now, recommendations going forward. We did propose in the budget submittal that I provided an operational day of May 25th through September 6th. And then, of course, we would need confirmation of that from the town if that is the operational dates that the town wishes. That would be the Friday before Memorial Day, and then typically the Monday after Labor Day. So that's kind of what we did this year. It does, as was stated earlier, it does fluctuate from year to year what the town wants, but so we will need to know that. That's what my budget was established on, 105 days, operational days. Recommendations going forward. Most of these have been covered in a workshop that we had last week and working with the town manager, so I won't get into a lot of them. I think the big item is we are requesting an increase in the entry-level hourly wage. We have, not only have we always been behind, but now we're significantly behind. It's significant to the point where it is being recognized by our staff. I don't know if you realize it or not, but the town of Dewey Beach is an advanced life-saving association certification agency through the United States Life Saving Association. Extremely difficult to acquire that certification. So we have to put a lot of investment into training our lifeguards to be prepared in open water rescue and certification. Not only that, but national certification as EMRs. We bring the Delaware State Fire School in. They do all the certifications for 44 hours. The lifeguards have to take their own time to come in the evenings and go through the certification. So it's not like the old days where this job was always completely fun. There is a lot more to it because of standards now. We have lost people, significant people that we've invested in heavily to other agencies because their entry-level wages and tiering are so much higher than ours. Ocean City, for instance, is going to $20 an hour to start for all lifeguards across the board. That's their starting wage. Now, I'm not suggesting that we go to that level, but for instance, in comparables, the town of Bethany Beach has a $782,000 budget, operating budget annually. The city of Rehoboth has published a $650,000 budget. We're significant. We're $250,000 under each one of those. So we have lost people that have gone to other agencies strictly because of the money. So based on the budget that I've submitted, we're suggesting a $17 an hour entry level with a 25-cent tier raise for every year to return, and then capping that off at a 5-year period. So there's a cap to it. It just doesn't keep going on and on. Then our command structure, the entry level will be $18.25, and that would cap at $19.25. So we're really, I think if we can get the support, we need this. Otherwise, we're training lifeguards for other people. And one thing that the town, Dewey Beach Beach Patrol does is, unlike others, is we provide the town EMS. So we do all this under this smaller budget, and we do save lives here. Our response time is within minutes. We're typically 12 to 14 minutes faster to any traumatic injury, life-threatening emergency medical situation. We do provide resource assistance. For instance, we did save people in the city of Rehoboth this year, where they called after hours for our assistance on a bad day, and we went in there and saved lives. We've done the same thing with state parks and other things. When they're off duty, we respond. So interagency cross-training and resource support when needed. So that's about all I have for now. If there's any questions, I'd love to answer questions.
Thank you, Captain. Commissioners?
Questions?
Did you say you started the Friday before Memorial Day weekend?
That's correct. The Friday of Memorial Day weekend.
It'll be May 24th.
That'll be the 24th.
25th,
He said the 25th, but I think it's the 24th. Just
It's Friday before Memorial.
Well, what I meant to say was the 25th is our full staff operational day. We do start the Friday before, but it's a skeleton crew for setup and mobile units. So I didn't get into the detail of it all.
Okay.
Yeah, full operation starting the 25th. Partial operation starting on the 24th.
Thank you.
Yes, good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
Appreciate
You're
it.
doing a great job.
Merry Christmas and TGIF.
The start date is relevant to the dog question.
I'm sorry?
The start date is relevant to the dog question.
Correct. Number 2, review of the November financials. The financials were posted online, and I'd ask Ms. Hall to come up and provide us with any updates or overview.
Morning, afternoon. Luckily, things are going better than I had projected for transfer tax. Accommodations has hit, it has stopped for all intents and purposes. There's a little bit dribbling in, but not like as in past years. I got the transfer tax for November. So later this month, we'll receive about $47,000, which I had predicted $40,000 for this month. So everything seems to expenses have petered, leveled off. We're all just doing very nicely.
Things are good. Jim, a question I have for you, the 47,000, which was a positive adjustment, at least positive in terms of what you expected, when we get to the potential budget amendment, does that budget amendment take that into consideration?
No, because I just found that out
Okay.
now, this morning.
We'll talk about that when we get to that point. Okay.
And can you just repeat, what was the 47,000?
For the transfers of November,
Right.
we received that money this month. We'll receive it.
December.
Okay, all right.
So that's what that is.
Okay. We'll get to that when we get to that line item.
Yeah.
I have a question, and I know this is beginning to get my favorite subject and probably other people's least favorite subjects, is talk about our rainy day fund.
Yes, sir.
You know, so when I look at the balances, the rainy day fund has, I think, I have it in front of me. Kate, thank you for putting all the financials into one document. I'm just having trouble scrolling back and forth. I think the required balance at the start of the year was 2,276.
Yes.
But then the April balance was 2,306. Is that an April 30 balance or an April 1 balance?
April 30th. As of November 30th, we're at 2,329, 2.3 million.
No, I understand, but I'm trying to go back to the start, because I'm just, you know, we had to start, and the audit report, I think the rainy day fund had to be 2.276 million. And so when I look to the right side of this spreadsheet that you have here, the 423 balance, beginning balance, it says, was 2,306, 432. So that's why I'm asking,
That's
why
four-
is there, why are they
That's
different?
430. Or,
So
that's
it's 24
4-1, yeah.
It's $30,000 more than
Because
the required balance.
after the, and post-audit adjustments were made, the audit adjustments that we had to make, that for reclassifying things based on the audit, it adjusted money into the rainy day fund.
Wouldn't that have all been reflected in the audit report?
It was in the entries that we got. I can pull everything up.
Yeah, well, don't belabor it, because I said it's my favorite topic, but not others, I'm sure. The other question I had about overall financials, we talked a little bit about some potential changes to the general fund balance policy.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea when we might see a draft of that?
I'm hoping in January. I've been looking at fund balance policies from around the nation, as well as GFOA's requirements. And I'm hoping to have a version to our accountant Allison, to have their Paul Caston's government expert look at it, and then be able to get it to you in January.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Sheena? Okay. I'll encourage the public to look at the documents. What you'll see out there is that for fiscal year to date, our fiscal year is April 1st through November 30th. We are $548,000 ahead on revenue. We were $196,000 heavier on expenses, but the net is that prior to set-asides, we're $350,000 better than we anticipated. So, as Sheena pointed out, it's shaping to be a good year, and 4 months to go. So, continue. Okay. Thanks, Sheena.
Thank you, Sheena.
Oh,
The budget amendment?
Yep, number 3.
yes, sorry. Number 3, discuss and possibly vote to amend the 2024 budget. Why don't you give an overview as to, or let's, Gary, you want to give an overview as to why we're doing, okay.
Well, no.
Okay, it is recommended in acceptable government practices that if your expenditures, not your revenues, but your expenditures are going to be higher than predicted, you should do a budget amendment. You would hope that your revenues are there to offset it. Luckily, we have that this year. Another case is if you're predicting a grant or some revenue and you're not going to get it, then like if the chief had said we're going to get a grant for 30,000 and whatever she was going to use it for, we're not getting that grant, we don't do those expenditures. So we would adjust it then. I've gone through, there is no, when auditors do an audit, they have a threshold of materiality. It's usually about 5%. There's nothing like that for budget. You just base it on your expenditures. If they are out of whack, you got to adjust it. I was able to take some time after talking with other towns and with Allison, I took our major revenue streams, predicted where they're going to be, and then was able to offset some of the expenses that incurred this year after a change in supervision in different departments. And that's what you have. And it is a zero net.
Is there a requirement for it to be a zero net for budget adjustments, or is that
No,
just?
sir, I just got lucky.
Skill.
Comments, council? Christina?
Well, my only comment, this is fine. I'm certainly in favor of voting for this. But it seems to me you kind of have to go through that projection exercise, the whole thing that you went through anyway, in order to get, an amendment that could be drafted and then approved by the town council. So, if you look at those projections, which are back in the financial report, because this is budget neutral, you leave in place the approximately $37,000 surplus, projected surplus for the year. But in fact, your projection is actually a little bit better than that. You're probably about $40,000 more than that. So I think overall, somewhere in the neighborhood of $77,000, $78,000 projected surplus for the year. So I mean, it's good that we're $300 and some thousand dollars ahead now, but basically the town operates at a deficit toward the end of the year, the last few months of the year. So we need a big surplus in order to get to a positive balance at the end of the year. But in any case, I'm fine with this. I'm happy to vote for this.
But my only comment.
This is Dave.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I just had a question for Sheena. So when we increased the number of staff on the police, we were thinking that it was going to be pretty close to budget neutral with the reductions in seasonals because we weren't able to hire them anyway. But when I look at these numbers, it looks like we didn't necessarily get all the savings we were thinking we were going to get, or did we? And I'm just not reading it quite right.
This adjustment takes into consideration all the extra hours that our staff had to put in earlier in the year when we were short-staffed over the summer, and the chief had our officers work extra to keep things family-friendly in the town.
Okay. So it's more about that than the two officers and the reduction in season. Okay. Thank you.
I don't agree with that. I think, we have $157,000 more in police salary because we added 3 officers for 6 months and they don't contribute to public safety until next fiscal year. They're in training, and that's just a fact. When we decided to add those officers, I didn't vote for it. I didn't vote against it, but I didn't vote for it because we hadn't done the financial analysis. And while it may have been budget neutral, it's budget neutral for the entire fiscal year. I would expect those numbers to come back down, hopefully, once we stop having to use all the extra hours to provide the kind of level of support we need for police here. And once those 3 officers come on full time, I would expect those to settle back down.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think that's largely the reason.
Yeah, Gary, I agree. I mean, when we did the analysis in terms of adding, it was assuming that it was a full fiscal year, looking at the reduction in the seasonal, reduction in overtime, and offsetting of the 3 new police officers. But we already had passed that point in time by the time they got into the academy. We look at public safety as our primary focus here. One of our primary focuses is town of Dewey, and we're as chief, was able to evaluate the staffing level and optimize the staffing plan. It seemed like a good option, best option at that point in time. One of the things, just to comment, as Sheena and I had conversations, and I don't want to take words out of your mouth, but the advice you were given is if you felt like revenues were going to be short or expenses were going to be exceeded, that's really the time when you go in for a budget amendment as a primary gap fill so when budget to actual, when audit was done, you understood what those variances are. I'm fine with the way it's presented and the way that's presented here in the statements. I'm fine to vote for this. It's just, to me, there also becomes a level of materiality. And that is where you and I may have a different point. When you look at the full budget, I'm looking at it going, it's $2,000. Mm-hmm. And should we really be making the change? If not, but I believe you got the guidance that there's no wrong answer.
Correct.
Great.
I mean, we have Allison on the line here too. I don't know if she wants to add anything.
Allison, do you want to add any comments?
No, everything that they said is accurate. I've actually had a number of calls with the auditor this week just to confirm, how he would like things to be handled. And I'm going to be speaking to someone at another town regarding some different budget practices that they have to assist Sheena also with some of the things that she's going to work on to present in January. But I know the one concern was, with the budget, exactly what they were saying is correct. If the expenses are going to be significantly off, we did look at the materiality, but there is none for this purpose. And, just amending the budget in the categories that agree to the page 38, for example, of your financial statements is the way it should be done, which is how it's been presented today.
Great.
Thank you,
So, but I just clarification, I think you're going to ask the same question, so why don't you go ahead?
No, it's not a question, it's just a comment. My comment is, I think this is the time of year to do something like this. Once you get all the summer expenses out,
Yes.
Once you got a really good handle on the revenue stream, then I think it's a good time in November and December to really sit down and decide whether or not you need a budget amendment. And so I think going forward, we should plan on doing this again.
Well,
at the same time.
I didn't know if I heard Allison make a comment that there'd be additional work or additional information gathered in January.
But she's talking about the budget when I do my.
Oh, for the budget process, not this.
Yes.
Okay, all right. All that being said, with the document that's being put forth, can I have a motion to approve the amendment to the 2024 budget?
Motion.
Second.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Aye.
Perfect. All in favor. Number 4, discuss thank you, Sheena. Thank you, Allison. Discuss possibility to increase the salary of the town manager. From a brief discussion standpoint, council went into executive session to discuss the town manager in the last meeting. The facts of the matter is that he has done an incredible job over the last few years. We recognize that every year in terms of his performance reviews and performance evaluations. And we also recognize that there was no real bearing on this change, but he was being, I will not use the word grossly, but he was being underpaid compared to neighboring towns, especially as those towns started publicly posting their need for a town manager. And while, again, they're not related, but it was pretty clear that I believe in both Fenwick, Lewis, and now Rehoboth are all seeking town managers. And so what we're asking for is to increase his compensation to to put in a 3-year contract, 3-year plus contract, to increase his compensation to $125,000 base, and also put in 5% increases effective on 4/1/2026 and 4/1/2027, and put the contract consistent with our fiscal year to also help planning for a budget process.
Motion that.
A second before comment?
Second.
We have an ordinance on that.
We do have an ordinance. Is that correct, Kate?
Yes.
Okay.
It is posted.
Any other comments before I ask for a vote?
Yeah, I would just say, I think our town manager's been a force for positive change from day one. Town is definitely better off with him here. And so I wholeheartedly support this increase.
Yeah, it was probably the shortest executive session we had. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Discuss the fiscal year 2025 budget process. The town is right now and Sheena's been very proactive on collecting budgets. Unfortunately, it's Christmas, and so you ask Dad for everything, Mom and Dad for everything, but you got to be happy with what you get. So the process right now is that they're collecting that information. The town manager and his team got together this past month and worked as a workshop to discuss, changes and why those changes were going to occur. And this is just, when can council, Sheena, if you can comment, when will council first get a draft of the budget? And what I'd also like us to potentially do, if council agrees, is to put a public workshop together as we try to determine, once we understand the expenditures, what the potential balance would be in terms of the revenue generated on certain fees for service and the fee schedule.
If the commissioners would like it to go to Budget and Finance first, I just need them to set a date. I've got a first draft in my pocket right now. It's not pretty, but I do have every wish that every department has. And I would like, after a few things, I'm hoping for Budget and Finance to have it early January, you guys to have it first draft at your January meeting.
I would prefer, and I don't want to speak for the rest of council, but I prefer that Budget and Finance has the first view at it before it comes to us. So if that could be positive, once it gets prettied up a little bit and you and the town manager are comfortable with it, to go to Budget and Finance, but it's obviously therefore in the public domain. And for them to have the recommendations back to us for the January 17th meeting?
Yes, sir.
January 19th is when we meet.
I just
Unless
forgot.
my calendar's just,
I don't think.
19th, yeah.
Budget and Finance can't meet until the week of the 14th, 15th,
so that's the same week as our meeting.
same week as our meeting.
Does that preclude us from being able to discuss and possibly vote
Both
on?
get it at the same time.
Well, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't take the recommendations provided, or does it, Kate, from a timeline perspective?
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. If Budget and Finance is meeting, for example, on the 16th, and going to potentially provide recommendations, does that preclude us from being able to discuss it on the 19th, even though we don't know what the recommendations are going to be after we posted the agenda item? My fear is I don't want to wait till February for council.
Yeah,
to review the budget.
guys. I mean, we're not going to pass the budget in January, but we could certainly discuss what the recommendations are, even if they get them just the day before.
Is that what it sounds like when I talk, Mary?
He says we're not going to pass the budget in January.
So we can take their commendation. Okay, all right, that's
We
fair.
can have an interim meeting just to talk about the one.
So would you want to have a workshop after the meeting when we receive the recommendations?
That would be wonderful. I will, if we can do it that following week, or sometime between sometime between the 22nd and the 8th, to have a workshop. Why don't I send out what's that program called? Doodle? Scheduling. I'll send out some scheduling dates for us to have a public hearing. And with special meetings, do we need to have a quorum here for a workshop? Or could it be?
All town council, yes, you do.
Okay.
As it
So it's going to
stands right
depend
now.
on the non-residents as to whether or not it could fit to your schedule, but I'll send it out.
The 26th is the day.
Commissioner Bauer, if you could just have the chairperson let me know when he sets because I have some vacation coming up and I want to make sure I'm available for you.
All right, we'll coordinate it.
One other thing, this is in regard to the format. The format last year, I mean, while there was a lot of detail and that's very helpful, we really need some subtotals in that spreadsheet because you really couldn't pull out the departmental subtotals in each case. And that really is needed.
Yeah, there was the first big one that had everything, and then there was sections, and they're going to be numbered. It's work in progress, where you'll have the police department. Their whole department will have their whole budget, just one section.
You
Is that-
really need that in overall too. I mean,
I think
it needs to be coordinated. It was very difficult to separate into the various departments last time.
I think Gary, what Gary's saying is that I remember I had to go back to my cheat sheet to see that this was police department or building.
Yeah,
or
label, yes. label,
just a
yes.
salary, like just so that column needs to be there in terms of the department.
I took my working documents for the audit and went from there. So
Well-
I can adjust, no problem.
Every year, we're going to get better.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Sheena.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheena.
Number 6, discuss and possibly vote on the following items regarding parking enforcement and regulations. This has to do with prior conversations that we've had in terms of either the season of parking, the days in which parking was being enforced, hours, as well as rates. And I'll ask Commissioner Bauer to give an overview that came back to council as part of recommendations from Budget and Finance.
Yep. So Budget and Finance looked at 10 items, May 1st to May 15th. Second one was September 15th to September 30. Number 3 was changing it from $3 an hour at a meter to $4 an hour. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, what the impact of those 3 days are as separate items. Making sure we addressed holidays, because sometimes 4th of July falls on a Monday or Tuesday. You don't want to give away free parking when it's 4th of July, for example. So, and then the daily parking passes, looking at the difference between $25 currently to $30. And number 9 was parking passes weekly, changing it from 90 to 100. And the start time for meters, moving it to 9 o'clock from 10 o'clock, which it currently is. So when I went through all those things, we really came back with 3 recommendations from the committee. And, you know, and the way I'm looking at it is, and the way the committee looked at it as well, is, you know, how do you increase something without making it a big impact on things? So, you know, of the 3 things, if we changed it from 3 to 4, that seems like a significant change. If we change it from 3 to $3.50, $3.50 an hour, that's going to generate $120,000 to us. So that's a significant impact to us. That's going to help pay for, you know, extra officers and, you know, go towards the budget. If we change the $25 daily pass to $30, that adds another $80,000. And the last item was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We give it away for free. No other towns give away any days. But they came back and they said, well, let's keep Monday, meterless Monday, and we'll advertise it as a meterless Monday, but not give away Tuesday, Wednesday. I talked to Carol Everhart at the chamber, and, you know, and there's, you know, they do the bonfires on the beach. So if we see a reduction of people going to the bonfire, you know, I question, like, how many people that go to the bonfire are really coming from out of this area? How many of them are already in town and they already bought their weekly parking pass? And so that's who's pretty much going to the bonfires. Movies on the beach, I see a lot of people coming in. So, and I think that's, so I think that was a good, you know, compromise, is to just, you know, keep free Mondays and we'll advertise them meterless Mondays, we get rid of the other. And that should generate, and I think it's a high number, 233,000 if we just got rid of Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, I don't think, you know, and I'll tell you how that number came about. We have 1,459 marked spaces in town. Lewis, we use that as a benchmark. They have 593 spaces. So if we look at what revenues they bring in on those days, we're basing it, we're almost 3 times the number of parking spaces. And I know people complaining, you know, informal surveys I do with people. If I ask people how many parking spaces do he has, they're like 50. I'm like, it's a little off, right? And everybody's shocked that we actually have 1,459 parking spaces. And town manager here, Bill, you've done a great job with the maintenance team marking all those things. And so, you know, plus the new lot that we have down at the end of Rodney Street. So, you know, things are changing. And so we have those spots. But, you know, even if we got half of the Tuesday, Wednesday projected revenue, I think we're in good shape. So, yeah, it's not a perfect science trying to figure out how much revenue Tuesday and Wednesday generate for us. But if we're giving away $100,000 for those 2 days, I think we're okay.
So just to further, Budget Finance had recommended no change to the hours and no change to the dates in
Correct.
terms of the parking season.
Right. That doesn't mean that we can't change those dates, but, I look at when you make change, you don't want to make wholesale, if we sit here this time next year and we say, hey, we're going to be, we need to address parking a little bit more. These are backup days. These are backup options that we have. But I think the 3 recommendations they made are solid, and it makes sense. And I don't think it's going to deter people from coming to Dewey Beach.
Well, I'm going to ask for public comment in a second before I ask for council's comments. But one thing that I would like to add is that in today's Cape Gazette, there was an article concerning Rehoboth and a consulting firm that they hired called the Rossi Group, who determined that the rates in Rehoboth were too low and that they should be changed. So they did that, as well as they said there should be more parking, there should be more scooter parking and pedestrian, places in Rehoboth. So it's we're not in uncharted waters here. So with that, I'll ask, is there anyone here from public comment who would like to come up to the podium and discuss parking? Kate, is there anyone here? There's no one in the Zoom room, huh?
That's actually shocking to me that no one has any comments on parking right now.
Then I will open up the council for questions, comments. Commissioner Jasinski?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with what Budget and Finance recommended, the subset of the recommendations. I think it's a reasonable approach to get us some more revenue without being overly burdensome.
Commissioner Gibbons?
Okay, he said, I appreciate the Budget and Finance Committee taking all the different things into consideration and making the pluses and minuses. I support what they have recommended.
My turn?
We do have a late bloomer coming in for public comment.
Oh, okay.
So yes, please allow whoever was there for public comment in.
Yeah, David Moskowitz, Dewey Beach, and Budget Committee did not really look at the other suggestions. They were swayed by Commissioner Bauer telling them, oh, this is what you should look at. And from the last meeting when you had Carol Everard and Monty speak, there was sort of a consensus to do May 1st to May 15th. Because it's also, I think someone has raised that it might be safer because you get a lot of incidents in early May and you charge for parking. Hey, you're getting everyone's license plates and you're also making money and paying for the police. The 9 a.m. was not looked at by Budget Committee either. And one of the things that Commissioner Bauer said, which actually is genius, is, oh, you have all the 5Ks. Well, if you think about it and you have all the 5K people, maybe it's like 5,000 to 10,000 people over the summer, and each person pays that $3 an hour. All of a sudden, the town gets another 15,000. So, I really think the commissioners should look at the 9 a.m. and May 1st to May 15th and do that for parking. And money made this summer, you can't change it in May. So if you're going to change it, you need to do it now. And I just think those 2 suggestions make sense. The free nights. Other towns have done free Monday nights in the past. Rehoboth does. And the reason why you're doing it is also to attract people. So, it's great you're keeping the Monday night, but if you could keep the Wednesday night for the bonfire because the chamber is putting on an event, that would be great. But I really think you should look at the 9 a.m. and also the May 1st to May 15th, based on the feedback from the last meeting from myself, Monty, and Carol Everhart. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Commissioner.
Well, first of all, as in terms of the overall process here, for me, this is kind of a backward process because we haven't looked at what we need. We need to have the budget workshop. We need to understand what our budget requirements are. And then we have a whole set of tools here recommended by Budget and Finance Committee that we can use to plug any gaps that we see in the revenues versus the expenditures. So for us to create a pot of money now makes no sense to me. Because all that guarantees is the town will go ahead and spend it. And we end up with a mixture of the essential needs of the town, as well as things that are nice to do, will be good to do because there's more money. You can't separate those two, I don't think, at that point. I think we need the workshop first. There's no reason why we have to do this right now. I appreciate the Budget and Finance Committee's work on this, and I think they have some sound recommendations. I agree that we should not change the parking dates, and I don't agree that we should change the parking to begin at 9 a.m. I have no way to estimate the impact of that, and I haven't seen any data that would help us do that. I think that this differed with some of the estimates that Commissioner Bauer came up with. Looking at eliminating the Tuesday and Wednesday free parking, I come up with a considerably lower number. I think you had $200 and some thousand as your estimate.
Tuesday and Wednesday should generate 233,000.
Okay, and that was based on a comparison with Lewis?
With Lewis, right.
Okay. I'm not sure that Lewis is relevant, or we can make Lewis relevant. I think what's more relevant is to look at some of the data that the town provided, which looks at the revenue streams for Thursday and Sunday. They are probably the days that are most closely aligned with what you might generate if you eliminate free Tuesday and Wednesdays. And when you do that, I come up with a figure that's about half that. So I think it would generate somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 to a little over $3,000 for each of those nights. I think there are 34 Tuesdays and Wednesdays that would occur next year.
I can give you these numbers, Gary.
Okay. Well, I mean, if it's based on Lewis, for me, that's just not a relevant.
But we tied it to what we do here as well. So we do 15,617 daily passes. And that generates $78,000.
Well, I thought we were talking about just the Tuesday and Wednesday free parking.
Well, that's how many daily passes we do. I mean, I don't know, does our system allow us to track
dailies on Tuesday.
days?
Well, we do generate revenue. Well, I mean, people are coming, the free park is just at night, right at 5, so.
Yeah, because there's a day that, you still have to pay up until 5 o'clock, but between, I mean, the real way to do this would be, how much money are we really collecting between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m.?
So,
that's
Paul,
why you look at Thursday and Sunday.
So
Thursday and Sunday.
So Paul, you're saying that the Tuesday daily passes, this is how many we get.
That's how many we get.
And so.
And then at the meter, you can also buy 24 hours on it too. And that's 479 of those. 485 weekend passes and 630 weekly passes.
Because I think what Gary's getting is the analysis that we looked at showed that the before 5 hourly, for example, generated roughly 650,000, while the after 5 generated around 300,000, if I remember correctly, in terms of the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, and if we use Thursday, for example, Thursday is 24 hours, and that we're trying to figure out what 5 to 11 is.
We're not going to solve this now.
Yeah.
I think we need to have another conversation to sort this out, because it's not productive to try to do that right now. But again, for me, I don't think we need to vote on these right now. I think we've identified some tools. Some of these are good ideas. We can pursue these. We can then pin down what the exact numbers are. But I would not vote on any of these today.
Well, the only challenge I put forth on that is, if we're waiting to January, I agree with you, Gary. There are tools here. These 6 line items can be done. Us going from 3 to 350 is a fee structure change. Us going from 2530 is a fee structure change. The only issue I have is the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that's only because I believe Carol Everhart has to know that before she goes to print the guides.
Yep. That is what she said to us, yes.
That's when budget and finance goes to.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah,
I don't think it's essential, but that would be the only one.
That's the only. I mean, because I think we're all leaning in the same direction, which is to keep the dates the 15th through the 15th. So we don't have to order new signs. And even that could also be stickers if we needed to for a year. But
you'll need new signs for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to change, because I looked at the sign up there today. It says free parking.
Free parking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we're going to need to do that anyway. So we can get those stickers done at any point in time before the parking season starts. But Carol, I've thought needed the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday by the end of December. Do you remember, Kate? I'm looking at you for.
That sounds right to me, yes.
In October, she told us she could hold a page as late as like the beginning of January, first week of January. That's what she told us in October.
But we're still not going to have.
No, I know,
Okay.
and
Okay.
that's,
Well, and
I
the
mean,
other
if
thing
you
is,
think it's essential to have that information in the booklet, then we would have to vote today. I'm not sure it's essential, but that would be the only one that I would recommend that we vote on today, if any.
well, if I can back up a few of these items. Good, David.
To Gary's point, she can just, in the booklet that she sends out, just be silent on the subject of parking, rather than saying the parking's free. And then we can make our decision later about what we do.
Any other council comments?
Yeah. So when Budget and Finance goes, in January when we meet, we're trying to come up with some budget projections so we can give this back in January. So if we table our conversation till January, that means we're not going to even talk about budget until February or March.
Well, we
Which
can.
can't happen.
Well, we can review the budget and the operating. We basically can agree and approve what's below the line in terms below. I know we're not supposed to say that anymore. The expenditures that we have in town, based upon the projects and the operations that each of the division heads want, we can look at that as part of the workshop after the fact in terms of how do we potentially address the fee structure, including but not limited to the parking elements. I'd ask that we make a decision tonight, one vote, which would be just to alleviate this, which would be the Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right.
So that's I have no problem because now we have the mechanics. We have the mechanics to understand what we can do as part of the budget. It was great work by Budget and Finance.
Right, but if I can add one more thing on that. So with whatever numbers we have it started with, we have to pay for 3 more officers. That's where we came up with the numbers, because if I did all 10 recommendations, I would end up with $1 million. But I figured we needed about 300,000 altogether for 3 officers, benefits, and all that kind of stuff. So that was a number in my head. And knowing that the variable was that Tuesday and Wednesday charging for it now, where we're giving it away, is it going to be 230,000? If it's half of that, we still covered it. But if it was that, then we have an extra 100,000 that I'm sure we can put to good use somewhere. Rainy day fund or whatever overage we could throw into a rainy day fund or something like that.
I don't disagree with you, Paul. The only thing that I don't want to make 2 different decisions based upon the same line item, because more information comes out. If we get to a point in January where we determine that we do need an extra 100,000, and that conversation is, well, then let's go to 375 or let's go to $4, then we have that platform to make a decision. All of this is great work and all the numbers are supportive, but I think we need to look at the expenditures. Okay. So can I have a motion to amend the free days? We are focused on 6C. An ordinance to amend Chapter 158 Streets and Parking, Chapter 93 Fees of the Code to revise the days in which free parking is in effect and as recommended by budget. And I'd also, I'd ask for a motion, but a motion for the free Mondays to exclude holidays.
I will make a motion that we have meterless Mondays unless it falls on a holiday, and that Tuesday and Wednesday evenings are now paid parking nights.
Do I have a second? Any other discussion?
So as far as the ordinance is concerned, we need to add a clause that says that it's Monday parking is not excluded if it falls on a holiday.
Correct.
Please.
And is there like a reference to what are the recognized holidays?
Federal holidays.
Federal or?
Federal holidays.
I'm thinking Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day,
Okay.
to be precise.
Are those just?
Well, it's definitely Memorial Day, and it may be 4th of July.
So Memorial Day and Labor Day always fall on Mondays. The 4th of July sometimes does.
Okay, so it should be then federal holidays.
Yeah. How about Flag Day? Anybody? No. Okay, just checking. June 14th.
Yeah, you got an amputation day in there as well, guys. Just to make you aware, you've got an amputation day as a possible one as well in there.
We're going to assume that was a yes. All right. We have a motion. You have it correct with the ordinance.
And Kate, you swear on how she adjusted her motion?
Yes.
And I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right. I think it was useful information, and maybe between now and the January workshop, we can really hone in on where we can provide, where we can look at the parking numbers, rely upon people in town.
So for consistency, we need to table each A, B,
D,
E,
and F. Right. They are going to be levers that we're going to have as part of the workshop to understand what we can change, as well as any of the other business license, et cetera.
We need a motion to table those?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I have a motion to table A, B, D, E, F from number 6?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Number 7, discuss and possibly vote on ordinance to amend Chapter 65, Animals on the Beach of the Code to permit dogs on the beach when no lifeguard is present. To be clear, we've had, we're trying to have the dogs enjoy the beach more. That was the intent of this moving forward. It seems clear that, before we used to have May 15th to September 15th in lifeguards. That has now changed. It's the Friday beforehand, so we don't want to not have people enjoy having their dogs on the beach when lifeguards aren't there. So very simply put, if there's a lifeguard, no dog. And if there's no lifeguard, you have fun with your dog. So that was the intent of this.
It was the same ordinance that we put in place for the babies.
Any questions of council or comments? Mr. President.
I'm not in favor of the change. And let me start by saying that I'm a dog owner. I have a 90-pound dog that's a friend to everybody, so I'm certainly not anti-dog. This is too vague. I think we heard a comment earlier that the language is vague. What if we get to a part of the season where you've got lifeguards on every other street? You walk up here with your dog. Is the lifeguard there? Can you have your dog there then? I just think it's going to cause confusion. I don't think people are going to know what to expect. If you have crisp dates and hours of the day on which the dogs can be there, it causes a lot less confusion. And so if you can make it more specific, I would suggest we do that. But as written, I would not support it.
So knowing that the dates are the 25th of May?
Well, the Friday before Memorial Day to the Tuesday after Labor Day.
So, Mr. Mayor, so Todd's crew doesn't actually start till Saturday of Memorial Day weekend. They go off the Sunday after Labor Day. That's the way it's set up right now. That's when we don't want the dogs on the beach between 9:30 and 5 o'clock.
All right, so I think that's a great way of finding someone to define it as the Saturday before Memorial Day to the Saturday after Labor Day.
The Saturday of Memorial
Or
Day.
Sunday. No, Saturday.
of Memorial Day weekend. Saturday of Memorial Day weekend.
Sunday after.
To the Sunday after Labor Day.
The Saturday before Memorial Day to the
No,
Sunday.
Saturday of Memorial Day
Which
weekend.
is before Memorial Day.
Yeah, but they're going to think it's the weekend before.
Make a motion.
So, I always want to put it in the positive. Dogs are allowed, but we have to do it. Dogs or other animals should not be on the ocean beach between the hours of 9:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. from the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend to the Sunday after Labor Day weekend.
I thought it was 9:30 to 5. Correct, Bill?
Yeah, that's in, so we're not going to delete that language.
We're just defining the dates.
Yeah.
Because currently, the current thing says 9:30 to 5:30, which is why I repeated those words.
Why, did you violate that, Paul?
And the town manager is giving a thumbs up that 9:30 to 5:30, because the lifeguards go on duty at 10 and off-duty at 5, but they are doing their pre-setup between 9:30 and 10 and
All right.
5 to 5:30.
Otherwise, you'd be shortening the periods that the dogs.
Right.
We don't want to short.
We don't want to do that. So, any questions of how Commissioner Givens worded it? Any issues? Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. More dogs on the beach.
More dog friendly.
All right. We had originally discussed the possibility of tabling number 8, but we as council felt we should have a conversation at least, and this is discuss possible vote and ordinance to amend Chapter 71 of building construction, the code to increase the cost threshold for which a building permit is not required. Commissioner?
Yeah, so just I want to frame some of the issues here because it's going to require a lot of discussion both at the Charter and Code Review Committee as well as here at the Town Council. The genesis of this was that at the next to previous Charter and Code Review Committee, the Highway 1 group came to the committee and raised some questions about when you need a building permit. They pointed out the fact that the requirements in Dewey Beach are much more stringent than they are in the county, and that there is an exception in our code if you are performing normal maintenance and the materials costs are $1,000 or less. In that situation, you don't need the building permit. Problem is, there's nothing in the code that defines normal maintenance. And I don't know any practical way that we can identify the level of material costs. You kind of just have to accept whatever the applicant tells you. Basically, people aren't going to show up if they think the material costs are less than $1,000. So there's some work to do in terms of defining what normal maintenance is. There's some work to do in determining what repair is. The other issue that came up is our FEMA regulations. We're part of the National Flood Insurance Program, and there's some requirements for the town to be part of that. They have to enforce FEMA standards, so there has to be a way for the town to ensure that those standards are being met, because something like 2/3 of the property is in a flood zone here in Dewey Beach. So there are lots of issues. We also have a more specific proposal from the Highway 1 group, where they've actually drafted an ordinance that we're going to kick back to Charter and Code Review Committee for their consideration and some recommendations. And basically, they're more closely following the requirements of the county, and they're trying to. Their proposal is to set the limit for the threshold for material costs at $5,000. Now, when Charter and Code Committee reviewed this, they suggested that we increase the threshold for material costs up to $2,500, and that's what's in the draft ordinance today. I don't think we're ready to do that right now. I think we have to deal with some of these definitional issues. We have to talk about the impact of the Highway 1 proposal. I put together some data that's available on the website. Laura put together, in the town, put together some data as well. Our data differ a little bit, but each of us was trying to define what a threshold level might be, a reasonable threshold level might be, if you're looking at total cost of the project. So there are a host of issues we have to deal with. I just wanted to frame those just briefly for you today. But we'll be talking about this again, most likely in January.
Ms. Hinks, do you want to provide any additional color?
Good evening. With this particular proposal or any proposal, because we are in a majority of the towns in a special flood hazard area, that does require us to follow our floodplain ordinance, Chapter 101. And so that is the most restrictive code within our Dewey Code when it comes to permits. So that is something that does need a lot of research, a lot of discussion. And so I'm more than happy to meet with others and be in a workshop and so forth, so we can come to a proposal for permitting.
I think it's a good idea. I think of our former mayor and commissioner and using the term unintended consequences, Dale Cook, in that while we're trying to make it easier for the residents and to understand, we're not trying to nickel and dime them, but there is an issue associated with FEMA and that could affect everyone on the long term. So that being said, can I have a motion to table this to a future meeting?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Number 9, discuss the possible vote to amend the Dewey Beach virtual meeting policy.
This was brought forward by the investment committee. Many members can participate remotely, but we struggle to get an in-person quorum. And because of that, the meetings have not been held on a timely basis. We're supposed to meet quarterly, and it was within the quarter, but not in enough time. So our wish is to have a member at the Anchor site with Zoom access for everybody, including the public. At this point, we need to have 2 at the Anchor site and 3 to make a quorum. We don't want to change the quorum requirement. We just want to change the number of people that we need to have here in the life-saving station.
Is that for all committees, or is that?
This is specifically for the investment committee, and with unintended consequences, I'm not sure what other committees would wish to join us.
Well, I don't want to speak for everyone. I think there are certain committees that we should have here in town. Council should be here in terms of the policy of having a majority here. I believe Gary and I had a conversation. The Board of Adjustments is also one of them, and planning and zoning.
And audit. Audit is also listed among the highest level of restrictions about who has to be here. What it says right now, virtual meetings of all other town committees or groups subject to FOA, 2 members at the Anchor.
Yeah,
one.
I also suggested that this be on the agenda today because we've had some problems with other committees. Charter and Code Review Committee, we had some problems there. I think that the town council, planning and zoning, board of adjustment should be held to a different standard, a much more rigorous standard, because I think it's important for people to be here. There's a lot of in-person presentations. People have to come and make their case to the board of adjustment or planning and zoning, and certainly to us as well. So I think it's important that we follow they have an in-person quorum here for those meetings. I actually think that audit could be moved to the same status as all the other committees. I think what happened with the last audit is the auditor appeared by Zoom. They had some members on Zoom, and I think it works just fine. The only other question that we have is whether or not the state requires that at least one person be in person here from whatever public body is meeting. And when I read when you read the requirements that are in the law, it's not immediately obvious. You have to read the definition of the anchor location, which says an anchor location is a place at which one or more members of a public body attend the meeting. That, I interpret that as saying you have to have at least one member of the public body in person, but it could have been much better written, much more clearly written. And I don't know, if Kate, have you tried to look into this?
Yeah, so I did add that excerpt from Title 29 onto the document,
Right.
and I unfortunately tend to agree with you that that's what it sounds like, that you need to have one person in person no matter what, at the very least.
And that one person needs to be a member of the committee, not the council liaison.
We were very successful moving things forward during COVID, and it was all Zoom. And the problem I have administratively of forcing us to open up town hall, or open up Life Saving Station, future town hall, with one person from the town, one of the members of that, to me, it's a resource waste to have to do it when everyone else is via Zoom. And I agree, and I'd like to get your opinion, Gary, on why planning and zoning, or why Board of Adjustments versus, like, I understand council, we agreed to this, we signed up for it, but why can't we have it so that if to have it all virtual? Because it's tough, especially off season, to get people to get together. So let's just,
Well,
what
Matt,
are your
I think
arguments on
there are
planning?
two issues. I
Yeah.
think for most committees, we should default to whatever the state standard is. But someone needs to pin down exactly whether or not one member is required. And I don't know who you go to talk to find that out. We're really basically interpreting what the state law says. And under the interpretation that Kate and I seem to be agreeing on, it seems to indicate that you have to have at least one member of the public body present at the anchor location.
But we
I
don't.
think that is the case.
You think that?
I think that's the
is-
proper.
But that is the state's meeting policy.
Right. So if we're going to have, we have to comply with FOIA. So minimally, we have to have one member of the committee manning or whatever an anchor location, and that anyone who comes has to be able to follow along. And you,
Sorry, what? We have another counter at the other side.
Mute. But I look at it from the perspective of the committees that are providing recommendations to council or making decisions that are going to affect the community. I understand why they want to anchor, and that being the Board of Adjustments and town council. But all of the other committees are providing recommendations to council. Is that not the true statement?
But they're all public bodies, so they all have to follow the FOIA requirements in state law. That's the idea. I don't think they can't meet, they can't make decisions, even if decisions are just recommendations. They would violate FOIA if it were fully virtual.
Well, my 2 cents worth, I mean, whatever the state conditions are, I'd say we just follow what the state does. I don't think that
And that's
hurts
fine.
us.
I just think that there are a couple of, the other issue is the other committees, planning and zoning, Board of Adjustment, and town council. To be on the Board of Adjustment, you have to be a resident. So it's easier
Should
for
be easy.
people
All right.
to.
Right.
And, my experience, and I'm biased in some sense by having been a part of, or at least attended, a number of congressional hearings where you have a bunch of people in the room sitting in the audience, and you have only you're talking to one person who might be the committee chair, or who might be somebody sitting in for the committee chair. It's a very disturbing kind of situation. It's much better if you're going to come in and make a formal presentation, which you do with the Board of Adjustment, and you often do with planning and zoning, and you certainly do for us. That it's much better to be talking to a human audience. That's just my view. We could decide otherwise.
I'd be
we just
okay
have to
making a
follow the
motion
state
to,
law.
I agree with you. So P and Z, Board of Adjustment, and council.
I want to make sure I understand this, but I thought I heard that all committees need to have an anchor. Didn't I hear that? Did you say that?
Yeah, but that's a one
That's true.
person, and
One
right now,
person.
the way it's set up in Dewey's requirements is that I have to have, for the investment committee, have to have 2 people at the anchor. And I'm requesting that we go back to the state's one person.
So, but it doesn't have to be the chair. It
Correct.
could be anybody on the committee. Okay, all right.
So just in support of a couple comments, the city of Rehoboth also requires all of the Board of Adjustment members to be present for a meeting, and they meet almost every month, like 10 months maybe out of the year. Our Board of Adjustment meets much less often, which is a good thing. So we should have fewer issues with people being absent, because there's a lot more scheduling involved. We schedule those meetings when we can have a quorum, as opposed to meeting on the 4th Monday of the month, which might not accommodate all of them. So I think that was the comment I wanted to make.
So I'll motion, follow the state guidelines for virtual meetings, but to add, to Gary's point, planning and zoning, Board of Adjustment, and council.
Required
to have,
a
one
quorum
person
here.
present, yeah. I think that's simpler.
I will second that.
Dave, I will second that. Yeah, I agree with
Going
that.
to David since he's so far away.
So what would the rule be for the Board of Adjustment?
They would follow town council,
Okay.
that we need to have a quorum present.
Quorum
in the
present,
end.
gotcha.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right.
Unanimous.
Number 10, discuss possible to approve, let me slow down. Number 10, discuss and possibly vote to approve a proposal from General Code for editorial and legal review of the town code. To give you some background on this, the Charter and Code Committee had requested in the past that we hire outside help to review our Charter and Code and be able to provide recommendations as to how to make it less ambiguous or to identify items that are conflicted and therefore not consistent, and to overall improve our town code. It is a recommendation that we go with the amount of ordinances this council has passed over the last few years, which are all good things that we've done for the town. It'd be good to have this done every 3 years, I believe. Kate, no? What was the recommendation?
10 to 15.
Oh, I thought it was 3.
No,
Okay,
not that
all right.
bad.
What was the recommendation?
Every 10 to 15 years.
Talking about the full legal and editorial analysis.
Right.
That should be done every 10 to 15.
Okay.
We supplement our code yearly, which means basically taking any of the legislation that was put in practice and officially working it into the code. That's done every April.
Okay.
But having a full analysis done of it every 10 to 15 years.
So how often will the current proposal be done then? So you're saying this is every 10 to 15 years that we'd be hiring
Correct.
to do that?
Yeah, this, exactly what we're talking about would be
Is that
every
the
10 to
University
15.
of Delaware? The International IPA?
You want to just give an overview?
Sure. So the proposal that was provided, that is from General Code. When you go online and look at our code and it says E-Code 360, that is all General Code. So they handle everything code related for us. As far as I know, it's been since 2005. They've been the ones handling our code. So I actually ended up just getting a little reminder email from them. Hey, did you know that it's time for you to do a legal and editorial analysis of your code? And I know that had come up with council before that that's something we would want to do. It does say at the top here, this is a preliminary estimate. The reason for that is because so far we have 17 pieces of legislation that need to be supplemented into our code. This would include those 17 pieces that are kind of hanging out that we would normally do in April. Obviously, if we want a full analysis of the code and we want to do that sooner rather than later, it makes sense to go ahead and supplement those and do it as a package deal. We don't want to do an analysis now and then in April add more pieces to our code. So we're basically wrapping that all in together. Anything that you guys would have passed today or before we decide to go forward with this, we would want to tack those on, which could increase the cost slightly. They do not have a flat fee. So it's not like we can say, okay, we need to codify an extra 3 ordinances. This is how much it's going to be. It's not that clear cut.
So when would they actually start the analysis?
I mean, as soon as you would approve it, the process would begin.
Motion to approve?
I'll ask. I think it's time for. I don't think it's a bad idea to have this done. We're constantly going to be passing new ordinances that are moving forward. If it is as of December 31st, that there, at the end of this meeting, this is where kind of the hammer comes down and we restart. That's fine. But Commissioner Persick, what's on your mind?
Well, what I'm most skeptical about is the price. I don't believe you can do this for $11,500. They talk about editorial and legal analysis, but they can certainly go through and change pronouns and tenses of verbs and that sort of thing pretty easily. But to do any real substantive legal analysis within a $11,500 budget, I'm just skeptical we're going to get very much for that.
You want me to answer for general code?
That's why I'm not looking at Ellen.
Ellen, what do you think?
I don't really know how to answer that. I mean, the only thing I can tell you is when I spoke with Lorianne, who kind of prepared this for us, she said you could go outside and have someone who has never touched your code before take a look at it. She's like, we have had our hands in your code from the day it was codified. We know your code. We deal with it day after day. Could that be a reason that
They probably have already done.
they
most of
already
the work.
have all the background documents. They have every update that's been done over time. So could their database, however it's set up, maybe make it easier for them to complete that process? I could see that being the case.
So I'll come back to a different statement, and that is that there's no deadline, or the deadline is by June, right? To have everything done. Is there, or isn't, there's no deadline
There
for us to
isn't.
start or finish?
You could choose to do it whenever you like. It was offered, it was suggested, so.
I'm all for having a third party outside vendor to do this for us. I think when Gary and I talked about this months ago, we'd asked for $5,000. It was like, how are we ever going to do this for $5,000 to get it done?
No, the committee was asking for much more.
Yeah,
They
well,
wanted like $100,000.
Yeah.
And-
So 11 sounds great. Or 13,
Well,
12,
it
13
does. Could they come in and talk to us, perhaps? I mean, Fred, you are the lawyer here. I mean, lawyers are not that cheap.
Fred's very
So
reasonable.
if they're really going to do a legal analysis.
Well, I do wonder about what kind of substantive legal analysis they would give. I wouldn't, I mean, they're not Delaware lawyers, so I assume. So, yeah, I think it would be important to get a better idea of what their deliverable is. I can see them saying that it's necessary or it's advisable to restructure things. There are better ways of organizing, and that would be non-substantive style recommendations. But in terms of saying that this provision is no longer constitutional, and that provision, because of some decision that was rendered by the Supreme Court, makes this other provision unconstitutional, I can't imagine you get very much of that, because that would be costly and time consuming. And it's probably not very reassuring to hear it from a lawyer, but I mean, you can do your best to craft each one of these ordinances. But, you change the facts a little bit, something happens that you couldn't have anticipated, and now you've got a difficult interpretation to make. And I don't know how, you can spend a lot of money trying to, I guess it's important marginally to reduce those situations to as small as possible, but you can't eliminate them.
And you can't eliminate, but could you even identify them with this amount of money? That's
Well,
what I'm not sure about.
The thing, I guess a few things. Go ahead, David.
I just have a question for Kate. Has any other jurisdiction gone through this in Delaware?
Oh, good question.
You took my question, Jim.
I'm sorry. Is that what but has anybody gone through it?
I couldn't answer that. I don't know the answer to
So
that.
I guess
That's a fair question to ask.
there's a few
Yeah.
things that have come to mind. One is one of my goals was to try to work with Charter and Code and work with Commissioner Persinger to move things that are in the code, in the charter, that should be in the code, and to consolidate where they should be. So the charter says, how we do things, and this is, what we're doing. And I think there's still some moving pieces that we probably need to do in order before we send it out for them for review. But it's not a bad idea to get referrals to talk about whether they felt the change there was value
For sure,
in what the
yeah.
investment was. So let's see if we can get some referrals from other municipalities, hopefully in the state of
I think
Delaware.
it's likely that they have done these before and could give us referrals. I mean, E-code is, I think, the most prominent.
The
but
standard,
There are
yeah.
others, but you can tell when you're Googling other laws, if they're arranged in the same fashion as ours, it's the same company. And if they perform this service, it's likely they're not offering to do this for the first time.
So let's ask them for referrals. Let's do a little bit more digging and bring more information to council, because there's nothing, but it would be great to know that at the end, there was a substantial, meaningful change that makes us less susceptible to criticism and or conflict issues. So can I have a motion to table?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That leads right to number 11, discuss and schedule a workshop meeting with the goal of condensing all codified fees into a single fee schedule divided in Chapter 93 fees. This follows exactly the same comment. There's parts of the code and the charter that have fee structure that it states the fee. I would like for us to get to a point where there's a one fee schedule that we can refer to, so that when we make changes, it's at the fee schedule level, not every individual ordinance that there might be. I'd hopefully, with everyone's permission, put a workshop, put that together for us to evaluate where those line items are and how it possibly could be done.
Motion to approve scheduling a workshop.
I'll second. I just have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Is it your intent basically to take all of the specificity of the fees out of the code and just have them reside in a fee schedule? Okay.
This way, it's not that we're amending the code, we're amending the fee schedules when it's fee based.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on that?
Are you going to do a doodle schedule with this too, or you want to discuss it now?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to do a survey to schedule this, or?
Yes, I will. This one is probably, we'll probably not do it prior to the budget, or we will put it afterwards, just because I want to make sure that we get the budget done correctly in January, February. It's nothing, we're not necessarily, what may happen as a result of this is, assuming that we go through the budget process and we may amend some fees, then we can use that as kind of why we're going to move to the fee schedule to reduce the amount of paperwork on the ordinances. All in favor?
Aye.
No, wait. Discuss. There's no.
We're discussing it.
We're discussing it.
Oh, you're going to vote.
Don't vote
No,
or
we don't have
anything.
to vote.
Stop.
Don't have to vote. All right, number 12, comments. Town manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to apologize. I'm a little under the weather, wasn't able to make it there tonight. But I would like to just do a quick reminder and update since it was asked about earlier. Sunset Park, we do have a $22,000 DENREC grant. I got it extended out to December of 2025 because we are currently working with the Center of Inland Bays on a living shoreline around Sunset Park, which is about a $500,000 project. And it doesn't make sense to do Sunset Park until Center of the Inland Bays is over. I'd also like to just real quick say we did have a good leadership conference workshop. It worked out really well. I'll be working on those bullets and putting them out. We had some really good ideas come up about the way we need to move forward in the next 3 years from all the department heads, and I'd like to thank them for being part of that. Thoughts on the parking and the revenue from that, where it's going to go. I understand Commissioner Persinger's concern that we should have the budget and then look what we need. But we do have 3 new officers. I'm going to be looking for a 3% pay increase for our employees this year to stand with what the government's going to be given on their COLA. And we have a new town hall that's going to be built. And there's going to be furniture. There's going to be all sorts of costs there. So unlike Milford, who put in a 10% property tax increase for their new police station, we're not asking for anything that extreme, but we are going to be looking for some funding for our new town hall, I'm sure, as we get closer. And then these last 3 years have been really good, and I appreciate your confidence. We have a great team here. I appreciate all the support from everybody on our team. We've got a great police chief. We got great folks that work at town hall every day. They're very dedicated. The commissioners have been dedicated since I've got here, the business owners, the citizens. And so I'm looking forward to another 3 years, and thank you for another 3-year contract.
Thank you, Bill. Chief?
I recently went ahead and placed the order for the 2 F-150 Lightning trucks that we got on the Energize Delaware grant for free. We got the check for $130,000 to cover those. Those should be delivered in March. Hopefully They come in on time. And I'm still working on the part about the charging stations, because that was a separate piece that we had to do, but that is also will be covered. So we're looking forward to those. A lot of the surrounding agencies applied for those grants and got them. So you're going to see a lot of those all over the state now.
So will this be part of the fleet, the take-home fleet?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. The 2 trucks are going to go. We decided it might be good to do kind of more the supervisors. So Lieutenant Dempsey will give his current truck to someone else, and he'll take one of the E-trucks. And then also our sergeant's going to take one of the E-trucks, because we still have to work out, the radius and how far they can go with the charging and everything.
Right.
Just so we thought it'd be better for those 2 to have the vehicles. And I'm going to, hopefully, if they offer it again, I'm going to pursue some more vehicles under that grant. It's a great opportunity. We currently have 2 openings. We still have Sergeant Jenny's spot that is open, and one of our academy recruits had some difficulties, so we had to let him go. So we only have 2 in the academy at this point in time. They're both doing very well, and they're set to graduate March 1st. They'll be in field training for about probably 12 weeks, or maybe a little less, depending on how they do. And so they'll be good to go for the season start. So currently, with the 2 in the academy, we have 11, which is more than we had when I first got here. We had 9 last summer, and we actually went down to 8 when Epke was injured for probably 6 weeks during the summer, and we managed. For the seasonal hires, I'm going to reach out to my returners in January to see if they're coming back. So I already did exit interviews with a lot of them, and a lot of them said they wanted to return. Most of them are in college. So the ones that are left that have not already applied to other police agencies or in the academy, I'm hoping that we can get them back. So if I'm lucky, I may have 5 returners. And then I'm going to partner with the University of Delaware. I met the deputy chief there at the executive conference, and he has a cadet program there and also security officers. And one of our seasonals from the summer is currently a cadet there while he's attending the university. And a lot of them will do that while they're in class. They work as cadets, and they do that for 4 years, but they also want summer jobs. So he's been looking for someone to partner with. So a lot of the seasonals that we have left that aren't returners, we could probably get from the University of Delaware. So we have a good resource for that. So since I'm going to be limited to hiring 10, I think I might be able to get the remainder from the university, which would be great because they're currently already doing this type of law enforcement role, which is great. What else do we have? My yearly report, I'm going to submit that to you in January for all the accomplishments and the things that we've been able to fix in the audit. When I first got here, I've been working on that consistently, and there's still more work to be done on the general orders and procedures and stuff, but we've come a long way in the last 11 months. So you'll have a copy of my report next month. And for the stats, I'm going to give you the stats from May through November. We had 3,531 calls for service, 484 traffic tickets, 481 parking tickets, 65 accidents, 106 criminal investigations, 13 DUI arrests, 5 ordinance arrests. We had 63 criminal arrests, 60 warrant arrests, and 168 complaint reports, where just basic incident reports already. So those are our stats from May through November. And as you know, it's quieted down a lot. So basically, we had a staff meeting yesterday when we were at the range, and I talked to the officers about the importance of getting out there on foot. They've been doing the business checks at night, finding some open doors on the businesses. K-9s have been going in there scanning, make sure there's nobody in there. So that's been a great resource. So they are out there getting the UTV out there. I had my day work guy was out there today, checking the beaches around town. And on all the traffic, I expressed the importance to them that our biggest complaints are crosswalks, the speeding, and the stop signs. So basically, they've all been made aware that those are the biggest things that we're focusing on right out, the proactiveness and just getting out there and being visible and out with the public and meeting with the community. That's pretty much it.
Great, Chief.
And happy holidays to everybody.
Commissioner Barra.
Only one comment. Merry Christmas to everyone, and happy holidays and whatever you celebrate. That's good with me. So, but no other comments other than that. So thank you for everything you've all done this year.
Commissioner Gibbings.
No comments.
Commissioner Jasinski.
No comment.
Commissioner Persica.
Just very quickly, I think it's really important for us to get into this budget process and really understand what the town believes it needs. to work efficiently. And then we've got some tools now that we've been recommended by the Budget and Finance Committee that we can begin to match up the revenues available or new revenue streams that could be created in order to fund the essential needs of the town. So I think that's going to be an important process. I think it's the right way to do it. And then I would just like to wish everybody a happy holiday season, and thanks to everyone at the town for all of their hard work over the past calendar year. And we expect a lot more of that over the next calendar year.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I too want to wish everyone, happy holidays. It is it's time of year to look back and be grateful for the things that we have, to be thankful for being able to work with great teams, and just to reiterate, yeah, it's been fun to see from council perspective how things really have evolved in town hall, around town hall, and at council. We're getting a lot done, and the community recognizes it. So thank you to all the team, and have a great holiday season. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wait for Dave. There it is.
It's
Aye.
official.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good holiday.